Jamie Kennedy. Subscribe to my man, Destination Station right now. You want the best content.
Jason Blum believes that he could get Robert Englund back as Freddy. What's up? Welcome to Destination Station. As always, I'm Destin. Thank you for clicking on this video. First and foremost, I want to address the mess behind me. I am in the process of moving, so bear with me. It's a little echoey in here. I hope it's not too bad for y'all on y'all's end. But today, I want to talk about some possible news that Jason Blumhouse is trying to obtain the rights to Freddy Krueger, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and he thinks that he can get Robert Englund back as Freddy, and that's something I have wanted to see for a very long time. I hope this does happen. I do want Robert Englund back as Freddy, but I'm going to go into all my theories and what I think, how I think the overall thing should go and everything. But I'm gonna read the article first, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. But if you're new here, consider subscribing to Destination Station. I do all things horror, Scream related, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, the monumental, the Rushmore of slashers, pretty much. That's my jam. And so yeah, and also follow me on all my socials, so you get a little bit of behind the scenes of everything that I do, and a little bit personal on my home life. And also, I do some live streams once in the morning and then once at night. I do 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Want some Scream or your coffee? I put something up right here, and I also do night screams, 10 p.m. to at least midnight or maybe later. It depends on how much energy I have to go all night. But let's get into this article about Jason Blum believes he could get Robert Englund back to play Freddy Krueger one more time. All right, over at Bloody Disgusting, it says that Jason Blum believes he could get Robert Englund to play Freddy Krueger one more time. Jason Blum goes on to say, has made it clear many times over the years that he'd love to bring Nightmare on Elm Street back and Friday the 13th franchise into the Blumhouse family alongside Halloween and The Exorcist. That's right, he's making The Exorcist as well. Which is certainly always a possibility in the future. The Friday rights are still tangled up in legal mess, of course, but what's the latest on the Elm Street franchise? Speaking with Screen Rant while promoting the Black Phone last week, Jason Blum indicated that if Blumhouse is able to get into bed with Freddy, he's confident he'd be able to get Robert Englund back to play the Dream Demon one more time. Despite Englund saying several times in the recent years that his days of donning the makeup are probably behind him, Blum goes on to say, I could make him come back. Blum tells Screen Rant, I could get anyone back. I mean, Ellen Burstyn was 87. I got her back in the upcoming sequel to The Exorcist. Wow, okay. But that's a little bit different with when you're dealing with Freddy, in my opinion. Anyways, 75, he's young. Blumhouse continues referring to Englund. It's been a few years since we've heard any peep about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, with Bloody Disgusting reporting back in 2019 that the Craven estate was seeking... I cannot talk this morning, guys. In 2019, the Craven estate was seeking out pitches for the potential next installment in the series. The U.S. rights to the franchise reverted back to the Craven estate a few years ago, so they're holding up the cards at the moment. The Elm Street situation is far less complicated than the Friday the 13th, and the Craven created Freddy, wrote the original screenplay for the original New Line Cinema produced, re-released A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven's estate is the sole owner of the U.S. rights to Freddy and A Nightmare on Elm Street, while New Line Cinema continues to own the international rights. Wes Craven's estate can keep it simple and make a deal with the Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema and keep it all in the family. Or a slightly more complicated route would be to align with a different domestic distributor like Sony, Lionsgate, Universal, etc. that would partner with Warner Brothers, New Line, the latter of which would handle the international release. Blumhouse could certainly factor into the equation, but as far as we're aware, no deals have been made. For now, a new Elm Street with Englund is merely a Blumhouse dream project. Okay, so if that doesn't clarify it, I don't know what will. So he just wants it right now, and he believes he could get Robert Englund back. It would be a dream project for him Robert Englund is up there in age. He's 75 years old. And he's stated many times that he just doesn't want to go through the whole makeup process. He's older now. He's not as lean as he was. He's not big by any means. He's not overweight by any means. He's just, he might have just a Freddy with a gut right now, and he might not be in any position to really want to get in shape for this role. But if Blumhouse is offering a pretty hefty sum and maybe some royalties off the movie or something like that, I'm pretty sure he could get Robert Englund back. If you know me, I went to Texas Frightmare a couple months ago. I hung out with Robert Englund for like 4 hours at the hotel bar, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Robert Englund and Lance Henriksen, and it happened by luck. Robert Englund's a very hard person to try to get through his line and get something signed or meet him, but he came and sat down exactly next to me, and we just popped bottles, champagne. Robert Englund loves white wine, and I talked to him about this. I talked to him about what about ever coming back for one more time for Freddy Krueger or Nightmare on Elm Street, and he says, "What's it going to be? Freddy versus Viagra?" He's a funny guy, but there's still just that small possibility. He's like, they got to come up with money. So with him making comments like that, money talks. You can get somebody back if the money's right, and if Jason Blum does pay him right, because he's just not a guy in a mask. You have to pay Robert Englund what he wants, because he brought Freddy to life. He is not a guy in a mask. He is a character. You have to put on all that makeup, and all the fans want him back. You don't want to go down the same route as a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. No offense to Jackie or Haley, but he's a great actor. But I just think that he was miscast, and the direction that movie went was not the way that fans was hoping for. There was nothing fun really about that movie. Had some cool ideas, but overall it was just a mess. And I think Blumhouse is a perfect place for a Nightmare on Elm Street. If you look at some of their other projects and stuff, like with Halloween, with having Halloween under there, I think he just wants to be a part of all his favorite. He's a fan as well. He wants to be a part of all his favorite horror movies. And I always thought that Blumhouse would have been a great place for Scream to be, but we know it's over at Paramount and Spyglass. So. But they're doing something right now with Scream 6, and they're taking some risks over there, so we'll see how that plays out. Halloween Kills was 50-50 mixed reviews. So as long as, the way I see it is, like, as long as Nightmare on Elm Street, if Blumhouse does get the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street, and he decides to bring this back to life, and he gets Robert Englund back, please don't put any major political stuff in the movie. Don't focus on that. Let's just focus on a Nightmare on Elm Street story and keep it simple. Let's have an amazing, heroic final girl like Heather Langenkamp. I want Heather Langenkamp back as well. I think that they should do a requel to the original Nightmare on Elm Street. No offense to any of the sequels of Nightmare on Elm Street, because I do like Nightmare on Elm Street 2, even though it does get some hate, and I do really like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Those are like the top three. Those are the first three movies are amazing. And I also got a little bit of love for Nightmare on Elm Street 4, even though it's ridiculous. But you could show homage, you could show respect to all the other sequels, just like Halloween did. You could still name a lot of the characters in the movie from characters throughout all the movies, And then you could also really need to show respect to Wes Craven, just like Radio Silence is for Scream. Show respect to Wes Craven in some way, shape, or form. That's always appreciated. You got to do a little bit of fan service there, and also with Robert Englund coming back, I want him back. Is he? If you ever seen the episode, I don't know if he's going to be right for a 3-movie thing, because if Blumhouse gets the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street, they're going to want like a trilogy. They're going to be banking for a trilogy, and if you can get Robert Englund back, he's not the same. He doesn't have the same. I don't know if he'll have the same energy. I don't know if he'll have the same stature. Like his posture and everything. I think that you really need to try to find that transition point with A Nightmare on Elm Street. You need to find another actor as well, because like I think that bring Robert Englund back, but let's have a transition to our new Krueger. Let's have a transition to a new Freddy. And let's bring Heather Langenkamp back too, to where, you know, she doesn't have to be the main focal point, but she could be there as supporting our new cast. And let's have it to where by the end of the movie, we transition to our new Krueger. Similar to how they did the new Candyman with Nia DaCosta. The way she did the new Candyman, she transitioned to this new Candyman. Even though I wanted Tony Todd in the movie and being throughout the main of the movie, which he was not, but he did have a small cameo. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the new Candyman. You should have already seen it by now if you're a slasher fan. But yeah, but Tony Todd wasn't in it enough, and I really wanted to see it just like transition into that. And with this, that we're dealing with Fred Krueger. So you got to find somebody that's possibly a relative of Krueger's, and that maybe now the Elm Street kids and the townsfolk's idea of trying to bury the secret of what Fred Krueger did, maybe it's actually worked now, and he has no energy, he has no life, he doesn't haunt Elm Street. But you could show homage to Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and bring in to where, you know, like how Jesse found Nancy's diary in his closet, and he started reading the pages and starts talking about Fred Krueger and burnt skin and knives for fingers, and it kind of like you know, this is he started realizing this is everything that he's been dreaming about. Well, maybe this time that's what awakens Freddy a little bit in this one character is this diary, and it shows also homage to A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and this is what awakens like maybe this is a new resident, a new kid that lives in the house, and in Nancy's old house, and he just he's reading this diary, and then he starts having nightmares, you know. And then you can also shoot Freddy as like you can film Freddy as the original Nightmare on Elm Street, to where we can tell it's Robert Englund, but he's always stayed in the shadows. He's always been like you see his claw, you can hear his voice, you can hear him taunting his victims, just like he did Tina at the very beginning of A Nightmare on Elm Street 1. And just always keep Robert Englund's Freddy in the shadows. Shoot him scary. Shoot him to where it's suspenseful. The later sequels had no suspense to it. And then, you know, if he does pop up, you can kind of like have him like just a little bit, you know, kind of, you see his face, but you don't see it clearly. And that's the way you could really shoot the Robert Englund angle, if that's the way you want to say it, Robert Englund's angle, and keep it to where it still looks good, it still looks scary, it still looks like he's in the shadows. We're filming it in like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and then like whoever the character is that we discover is a Krueger, maybe Robert Englund or maybe Fred Krueger's long lost son that was taken away at a young age. You know, apparently that happened with his daughter, but what if he had a son as well that could take on the legacy, that take on the Krueger name, and then when the townsfolk finds out that he is a Krueger and that there are kids getting killed in this town on Elm Street, they automatically assume it's him when they discover that he's a Krueger, and they end up doing the same thing to him that they did to his father. And that's when we do the transition to our new Krueger, like a passing of the torch, a passing of the glove to our new Krueger, Krueger's son. He's still a Krueger. He might not be Fred. He could be a Fred. I don't know, Freddy. But he needs to don the glove, the look. He needs to get burned by the townspeople as well. It's got to be like a same thing, like a lynch mob, just like going and doing the same thing to this new character that they find out that is the Krueger, and they believe that they've already buried the old Fred Krueger, so it has to be this new Fred Krueger, or this new Krueger, this new son of Krueger. So yeah, and to make it tragic near the end, and by the climax, the guy rises as the new Krueger. He dies, he gets burned up, but he comes back, and then, you know, wreaks havoc at the end, and then the movie ends because now we know leading into the next movie, we have our new Krueger. And you can still have Robert Englund involved in the next couple sequels, kind of like Nick Castle was with Halloween Kills and also with Halloween Ends. Like, have him as a cameo, have him as like one little small scene, but don't make him do a whole lengthy stuff. Or you could still use Robert Englund's voice as our Krueger. But I'm pretty sure that whoever's playing the new Freddy Krueger would want to do their own thing and maybe use their own voice, their own mannerisms and stuff. So I don't know. But there is ways that you can keep Robert Englund involved and not actually playing the character Freddy Krueger. But let's do that. That's what I want to see. I want to see the first, and I'm going to have a full pitch on my channel later on. I have been working on for a long time of a pitch of how I want a new requel to A Nightmare on Elm Street to come back, a reboot of it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So yeah, guys, what do you think about that? Consider subscribing, like this video, smash that like button, it helps it out a lot. Follow me on all my socials. Thank you for clicking on this video, by the way. What do you think about Jason Blum obtaining the rights to A Nightmare on Elm Street? Do you want A Nightmare on Elm Street to come back? And do you think Blumhouse is the right company to take on this project? And also, we all want Robert Englund to come back. But if there was somebody else, a different actor, other than Robert Englund, to do that transition role, to come back and play as Freddy, a new Krueger in a potential sequel, who would you want that character to be? Who do you want to see don that glove other than Robert Englund? Because we all want Robert Englund back, and I know there was speculation about Kevin Bacon. I think he would have been great too. Before Kevin Bacon, there was talks of Billy Bob Thornton. I thought that would have been great. But my number one pick at this time to play Robert Englund, I've made videos a long time ago before, is Walton Goggins. And Walton Goggins, I feel like he has a good balance between being menacing and being comedic, dark comedy. Like, he can balance the two, and he's got that posture, and he's got a certain look. I think he would look really cool in the makeup. So yeah, Walton Goggins is the guy that I think that would be an awesome Krueger, and possibly playing Fred Krueger's son, long lost son, that something tragic happens to him, similar to what happens to his dad. And then I'll give you two other choices, and then we're going to shut off the video, okay? My second choice is Sam Rockwell. Think he's phenomenal. Think he would kill it as Freddy. No pun intended. And my third choice is Ben Foster. Those are the three that I feel like would be an amazing Freddy Kruegers. I just think I've always enjoyed their acting. I think they're badass. And so yeah, what is your pick if you couldn't get Robert Englund back? Who is your dream casting of Freddy Krueger? So yeah, let me know in the comment section below, and subscribe to Destination Station and like this video, and I will see you guys when I see you guys. Peace.
Bagels and go to Destination Station. This buddy is the bomb.
Yep.
Love him.
Yep.
Fucking A.
Yep.
I had to say that for a reason.
Freddy, take that, motherfucker.
All right. Okay. Fuck you. Yeah.